You're not my
Ryan's
dad.
always telling us what to
Can't
do.
tell me
Suck
Tell me what
my
to do.
whatever you want.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm Elton John. Welcome, everybody, to episode 59 of the Four Dorksmen Podcast. I'm Nate, a.k.a. Angry Nate.
I'm Clint's hair.
And I'm Collector Clint.
And I am Asian Tony Stark.
And thank you all for joining us this week. A couple of quick housekeeping things before we get too far into it. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram at _Dorksmen. If you're listening to us right now, you're probably on Podbean, so we don't need to remind you. But we're still sorting everything out on Podbean. As soon as there's going to be some missing episodes, the ordering might be kind of weird. SoundCloud was very good to us in that sense, but Podbean has been a bit of a challenge, to say the least.
Well, we're also loading
Clint's
stuff
face
after the
tells me.
fact.
And Clint just dropped.
He just yeeted out of
He
here.
just got so mad at Podbean, he just peed it. Just make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us on Podbean, the Dorksmen, the _Dorksmen, I believe, or Dorksmen. I should check.
You might want to know.
I don't even know
What we
myself.
really need to do, Nate, speaking of all of
What's
that,
that?
we really need to be like leveraging that URL, that custom URL
Yes,
that we can
yes.
use.
The link tree is so good. And Clint's back, so welcome back, Clint.
Sorry, I meant
he went to punch Podbean in the face, so he's back.
No cruelty. He's just hungry. It's fine.
Yeah.
Nate said Podbean, not Bosley.
I said Podbean, not Bosley.
Oh, I thought he said Bosley.
No,
Sorry.
no.
I was like, that's surprising, but okay.
We would never do that to Bosley.
It would never do anything but give treats to Bosley.
Yeah,
And
that'll
pets,
boy.
treats and pets. Yeah.
That's right. Sorry.
But yeah,
I didn't interrupt. Keep going.
yeah. So that's all.
Good stuff.
Clint missed all the stuff there. Oh yeah, no.
Well, luckily,
Bingo.
Ding the bell.
Dorksmanbingo.com.
Ding the bell.
Ding the bell. Thank you, Andrew, for always being on top of that and getting that set up for us, the dorksmanbingo.com. And of course, shout out to Larry from the STS guys for doing the redirect to make it nice and simple for us. Yeah. Oh yeah, make sure to check out Andrew's podcast that he does with his brothers, Tory Rewind. So they've got new episodes every week. They're all over social media as well, so make sure you're following those guys. Good bunch of dudes. Yeah, I think that's all the intro stuff. It's been a fucking mess of a week for all of us, so This is kind of I'm glad to be here just to be able to just sit down and kind of shut everything out for the next little bit and just chat with these guys. So, we're doing this.
Let's look at it this way. Sunday is the start of the week. We record on Sundays.
It's true.
This is a kick-ass start to a new week. Plus, tomorrow we have the day off.
This is also true.
Yeah, so
That is the key. Having the day off is super key. So let's jump into some Ask the Dorksmen. And our first question comes from Ferd. Shout out to Ferd. Thank you, Ferd, for sending me the SDCC toucan and the astronaut suit. I've been telling you I would post a picture. That's on me. It's sitting
That's
here.
never gonna happen.
That's never gonna happen. It's
Well,
in
that's very
great
nice to you,
condition.
Bird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's shipped perfectly. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. I'll get you back one day when we can finally hang out and see each other. But his question is, if you had to be a cartoon character, who would you be and why? I think this is going to be a fun one.
I feel so stupid for this answer because it was literally the first thing that popped into my mind.
Right.
There was a cartoon that came on. It was one of those Saturday morning cartoons. And when I looked it up, when I read over the question, because that was going to be my answer, I was like, oh my God, the show was only on for 13 episodes. Like, I can't believe I remember it, but no wonder I don't remember a lot about it because it was only on for 13 episodes. And it was a show called Turbo Teen. And it was about a teenage high school kid that turned into a car. Like, he literally turned into, not like Transformer style. I mean, like, dude just morphed into a actual car.
What year did this come out?
Let me look it up again. I was just on IMDb double checking.
I guess he's gonna Google it.
No, I IMDb'd it.
Oh,
So 1984 was when it came out.
Was
And,
there was something I think I saw on Twitter recently where someone shared a gift of him transforming into the car. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know why that show just like mesmerized me as a child. Like, oh, wow, this kid can turn into a car. It's not like Transformers where it's like, okay, it's a robot turning into a car,
Right.
or Voltron where you're in this giant robot, thing. It's like to, I guess, a 4 or 5-year-old, like, oh, maybe I could actually turn into a car if this happened to me. Not like it's any more realistic than any of the other Saturday morning cartoons that we watched, but for some odd reason, that show just fascinated me. So
If you try
Turbo
hard
Teen.
enough, I'm sure that can be achievable.
Well,
Talk
isn't
to
there an
Elon Musk.
episode
He'll
of,
figure it out.
Isn't there an episode of Rick and Morty where Morty turns into a car?
does
It's
it?
like it's an end credit scene, I think. Yes, I'm pretty sure
Oh.
about
I
it.
mean, if you're asking me, I'm going to be like, oh, hell if I know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm
And
trying to
You have to
remember.
Google it.
Sounds
You actually have to
vaguely.
Google it.
Yeah, we do have. To
But
Google it.
I remember the GIF. So the GIF is hilarious because this kid goes like on all fours, and then his torso gets really long, and then
His hands turn into wheels. His feet
Yeah.
turn into wheels. Yes.
his transformation is hilarious. I wish I could look up the GIF wherever you do GIFs, like on Twitter. I bet you it's in there. Anyway, that's a fantastic answer. The question is, what kind of car would you turn into, Joey?
Oh, that's a good follow-up.
It's the same car. Like I want to turn into. I mean, it was just like some generic red sports car from the 80s.
Okay.
It was
Like-
probably supposed to be like a Trans Am or something like that.
Corvette.
a
but,
Thunderbird. It's
Yeah,
transforming
it's
into
gonna
a
be his
T-bird.
car. Like I don't want to turn into any other car. I want to turn
okay,
into the
okay.
car he turned into. But yeah, I see the Rick and Morty turns into a car
Yeah.
clip.
Well, it's hilarious too because when it happens, like this funny talk, the show he's talking about, the GIF I've seen, it's exaggerated and takes a minute, and Rick and Morty just happens, and he kills the kid in front of him because he's in class when it happens.
Yes.
So it's ridiculous. But anyway, yes. So he does do that. Anyway, that's a good answer, Joey. I'm glad you shared that. My answer is actually not going to be Rick and Morty or Bob's Burgers related. I know you guys are probably shocked about that. It's not
Disappointing,
Simpsons either.
Clint.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I would actually
shocked and
be
disappointed.
Peter Griffin, and I'd be Peter Griffin because I would be inexplicitly married to a hot redhead, and I can do whatever the hell I want without any consequences because he keeps screwing up and nothing bad ever happens. So also I would have the Peter copter. So that is my answer.
We went from a very lengthy explanation to one that took less than 30 seconds. Good job.
Yes,
Clint.
well, thank you.
I'm going to try and bridge the middle here and do a little bit of both. So mine, I would be Garfield. Now, we didn't specify it has to be a human, right? So I'm going to be Garfield for
No,
these reasons. So number one, I work way too much. So in contrast to that, I was going to say stark contrast, but that would be too much of a pun there. So in contrast to my normal life, Garfield is very lazy, does a whole bunch of nothing, and he gets to eat lasagna. And the lasagna part I bring up because Michi made lasagna 2 nights ago, so I've been on a lasagna eating binge recently, which is great. Homemade lasagna, so fucking good. So fucking good.
Can I
But
tell you how
anyway,
horrible of an owner John is in Garfield? Hey, I have a cat. Let's give it lasagna. That's awful.
That makes him the best owner. What are you talking about?
Makes him the best
Yeah.
owner for the 2 years the cat's alive.
thank you for shitting on my parade, Clint. I give a
saying.
great answer trying to explain
And
it, and you just come and you rain on my parade. Thank you.
Does Odie get lasagna?
Why would he get lasagna?
I think he just got dog food
Why does Garfield get lasagna?
because
because
he's a cat.
Garfield.
Oh, because
Yeah.
he's a cat. Apparently I know nothing about raising cats.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's a cat. Come on.
So
Come
as
on,
Clint
Clint.
ruins my answer, how about you, Nate? What do you think?
I would, of course, I would go with the Simpsons reference. I would have to be Homer, because like Clint, Homer gets away with literally everything. He's been to space. He's owned companies. He's never he doesn't get fired. He's been like head of the mob. He's been, Mayor Quimby's bodyguard. He's been like so many amazing things. And he's lived this very, very full and hilarious life. And if I had to pick, and he gets hurt and he's fine. Like he's been angry dad. He's done all these things, right? So
All in theory in 1 year, because nobody ever ages. So this
Right,
is all happening
exactly.
at age.
Yeah.
Isn't he supposed to be like 39 or 40?
yeah, something like that. He's supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's who I would pick. I'd pick Homer just because it's incredible.
Just because, yeah.
Um,
So I have a follow-up
yeah.
question for you then, Nate. Being how close you and MC are, who would MC be in your Simpsons universe?
he'd be Milhouse. Without hesitation.
Throwing the frisbee to himself in the park.
Yeah, or he's standing on top of the jungle gym with the wind blowing his hair, and he's just all sad in the darkness. Yeah.
Hey,
I
that
can
or
see
Ralph.
the-
Or
I can
Ralph.
see that.
at least he's wearing his flip pants, and
Yes.
while his shoes are wet, his cuffs are bone dry.
Yes.
Good question,
Wow.
Ferd.
Yeah, appreciate that, Ferd.
Oh.
That's a fun question. We're very curious about which cartoon character you would pick and why. So please feel free to answer us, as Clint probably will hit you up on Twitter on that one.
Yep.
Our second question this week comes from Manny, Night
Manny.
Bodega, good friend
Manny
of the
Fresh.
podcast.
Manny Fresh. Let's start calling him that.
We should. His question is kind of incriminating, so I'm very curious to hear these guys' answers. The question is, have you ever used a fake ID? And if yes, what for and how did you acquire it? Joey's
laughing
got a
like
good
that
story for this
maniacal
one.
laugh right now.
So, okay, so for a while, the Louisiana law was, and this is when I was in high school, you could get into a bar at 18. You just still couldn't drink until you were 21. So
Okay.
it was really crazy. So our senior year, a bunch of my friends were already 18, but I had a late birthday. I didn't turn 18 till June. And so there was a bar that we went to that was really popular that everybody liked, but you had to show ID. Whereas, okay, so it's New Orleans area. There are bars, obviously, you can get into. You don't have to worry about showing ID, but this one did require an ID. So there was a friend of mine in high school that we did look remotely similar in features, like same color hair. We wore glasses, about the same color complexion, slightly larger noses and ears, like the whole 9 yards. So we looked very similar. So I would borrow his ID to get in. And then one night when I was using his ID to get in, the bouncer looked at it, looked at me, and then stopped and hesitated for a second, and then looked at the ID again and said, "Boy, this ain't you. You're not 5'7". And the whole thing
Come
was
on.
ruined. I could never use his ID again because I was already 6'5" my senior
Right.
year.
I mean, come on now.
Luckily, up to that point, nobody had either cared enough to just stop me, or nobody had looked at the height part. But once he saw I was 5'7" on the ID, that no longer worked for me anymore. But that was the main time that I used it. It wasn't a made fake ID. It was a borrowed ID that was actually the right age for what I needed to be. But yeah.
A shout out to that bouncer for actually doing their job, though. Jesus, it
Yeah,
took that
seriously.
long. You know. I guess I'll go next. And what's funny is I've used one once, and it's a very similar story to Joey's. So, kind of a similar thing. We were at this was here. I was 20. I wasn't 21 yet, and we're at some bar. You know, kind of the same thing. Or I think it was a dance club. Now that I think about it, and I didn't want to go in the first place. I got dragged in there. And I was 20. The guys were age, and they're drinking, having fun. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, hanging out. Can we go home yet? I remember I just didn't want to be there because I was tired. Like, it's not that I didn't like to have fun. It was like a Thursday night or something. Anyway, he's like, go get a drink. I go, I can't. I'm not of age. He's like, well, take my ID. I go, we don't look anything alike. Okay, so to preface, the guy's last name is Montez, and. And he's like, oh, it'll be close enough. We're looking like, I'm like, I don't want to drink. He's like, just go. So eventually the other guy I'm with pressures me into it. Just go get a drink. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go get one, like to shut him up. So I go up to the bar and I go and I show my ID and he goes, the guy looked immediately. I know it's dark in there. He looks at me. He goes, this isn't you. I go, I know. He goes, what do you mean? What do you mean? He go, I'm not doing this for me. I don't even want to be here. He's like, really? And like, he didn't understand. I'm like, can I get the ID back? He's like, no. I'm like, good. I just walk away back to my friend. And I'm like, oh, he took your ID. And they got really concerned. He did what? Why'd he take it? I'm like, because I don't look like what's so hard to understand about this? Like, I just remember being so upset about the situation because I didn't even want to drink. Like, it wasn't like I was even wanting to do this or be there. And he was insistent. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know. I mean, you could try to go tell him someone stole it or something, but I'm not going to go get it back. I don't know I have no idea if he got it back or not, but That's the only time I've ever used any kind of fake ID. I was in no rush to start paying for alcohol, so I didn't need one to, start buying other people drinks. So that's my only story about ever using a fake ID.
I've
That's
actually
amazing.
never used one. All my
Never?
years working in the nightclub. I mean, granted, I was snuck in before I was 18, like when I was 17. Because my birthday is later part of the year.
Right.
So as summer already started, after I graduated from high school, my friends wanted to go out to a club, and it was 18 and over. I wasn't 18 yet, but they knew some of the people throwing the party. They're like, "Yeah, we'll just get you in."
Yeah.
But all my years working in the nightclub, I've seen many people being thrown out for using a fake ID. And similar to Clint's story, they're like, "This ain't you." Like clearly, right? A lot of Asian people here in Hawaii. So you got a white guy comes in using a Japanese ID. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? At least try
come on,
a
put
little.
some effort into
Yeah,
it. Right? At least.
put a little effort
Yeah.
into it. But yeah, I've never used one.
Come on, McLovin.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Exactly.
Good
Oh,
good
that's so
example.
That's a good example. I have never used one either. One of the things that thankfully being Canadian is and being up here, it's 19, so I don't have to wait those extra 2 years to have been legal to drink. But also before that, I wasn't super into drinking and stuff, but some of the people I hung out with, but they had older brothers and sisters that would boot for them. So there was never a situation where anyone actually had to get a fake ID. It was just available once. You just had to ask your older sibling and pay a premium, obviously. Like, they're not doing that shit for free. So I've never, I don't have that amazing story of using a ID of someone that is I do not look alike at all, or not even the same ethnicity, and try to explain that to a bouncer, thankfully. Although that seems like an amazing story. And I feel like I should get a fake ID now just to try it and see what happens.
So at this point, would it be like a fake ID to get like a senior discount at the restaurant or something?
Yeah. I'd be like, I'm 65. What? Yeah.
Either that or ultra porn, like they talked about in Futurama.
Yeah.
I'm not old enough to get ultra porn. It'd be funny is using a fake ID to go back to high school.
Joey
I just think of that GIF with Steve Buscemi, where he's like in the hallway with the skateboard.
Yes, with the skateboard. Yeah.
Hello, my
Like,
fellow
how do you do,
classmates.
fellow?
Or, hello, fellow young people.
Yeah.
Do you also drink your yogurt on the go? Or whatever they say.
Joey just sent us a picture of the guy whose ID he used in Skype, and amazing.
I mean, I can see the resemblance a little
I
bit.
can
I
see
mean,
the
boy,
resemblance.
you ain't 5'7".
I really hope that was the ID photo, by the way.
Right?
Because
No,
the guy
that's
looks
not
like
his
he's totally
ID photo.
trash.
No, that's him. Like, that's a current picture, so you could base it on what I currently look like. I'll dig out some yearbook pictures and do some side by side, so y'all can.
Yeah,
see
you guys do look
funny.
alike, though.
I can see you trying to. Yeah, I can see it working.
Yeah. So it's
Maybe
just
should we use this
the height.
for the photo this week?
Yes.
No.
Who's that
Absolutely
guy?
We will absolutely use that as the title, though. Is boy, you ain't 5'7".
That's fine.
You should change it to tree. You ain't 5'7".
Yeah, tree.
Yeah, I like
You
that.
ain't
Tree,
5'7".
You ain't 5'7".
Tree, you ain't 5'7". All right. Thank you, Manny. I feel like Manny has a brilliant story here, so please, Manny, share with us
Yeah, Manny.
your fake ID story. Are you using a fake ID right now, Manny? Like,
maybe his name's not really Manny.
yeah,
I mean, technically it's
Cool.
not.
Manuel,
Yeah.
Manfred.
Manfred,
Manchester.
Manheim.
Wilfred Manfred.
Manny, I'm gonna buy you a fake ID that changes your name.
I'm gonna buy you a fake ID that's
Manheim.
wrong. I love it.
Manny,
Yeah.
Manny just needs an ID in general. I think the old spaghetti factory in San Diego still has his ID from when we tried to get a reservation.
Nice.
I was hoping we could go back this year and get his ID back. Hey,
Yeah.
you're still holding my driver's license for a
Yeah.
reservation from when? 2019.
I'd like a table still, please. But I'd also like
Wondered if that table's ready finally. I've been waiting quite a while.
they've been
hungry.
calling him. They've been like sending him postcards, but like, sir, your table's ready, and he's just like this wrong address. Yeah.
Did you get our smoke signal?
I think we just ended up settling for another $16 burger somewhere.
Oh,
That was like the going rate for a burger in San Diego. $16.
I feel like-
about right.
I
And it
feel like
worked
that's
out
not
worth
even con
$16.
price. like that's just San Diego price.
That's
I feel
Gaslamp
That's
price.
just downtown San Diego
that's
price. I
Gaslamp
agree.
pricing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gaslamp price. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, we're missing cons, as you can tell.
Oh man,
We're missing.
We're
seeing
missing
our
cons
friends.
when we're missing about expensive ass burgers.
Yeah, but they were good. There was no.
Oh, we had nothing
all
to eat the
food
rest of
was
the day.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Everything is good at that point, Nate. You
That's
haven't
true.
eaten in like
That's true.
18 hours. You're like, this is great, and you're like eating cardboard. You know.
You could feed me a tofu burger after 18 hours of not eating, and I will tell you it is delicious.
But we
And I
know
would
that
be
Joey
lying
won't
to
eat
you.
spam. That is the line.
Really,
correct.
spam's the best though. So you guys are missing out.
We learned that at Fun Days. That's the only reason I know that.
You did.
I'll let it ride.
That and tofu, right? You said you wouldn't eat the tofu either.
I've never had tofu, to be perfectly
Oh.
honest with you. So
Well,
I
tofu
guess
can
it'd
be done.
something I would
Tofu can be
try.
done in a way that's not bad.
Yeah.
It depends. It
I
depends on
think
the way
also
it's
being
done.
done when you don't even really taste it. It's just a texture
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
Anyways.
different types
Anyway.
of tofu, but we're not going to discuss that. That's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
podcast.
There's dessert tofu as well. I mean, we
No,
can do a
gross.
lot.
No, you can't ruin
I
dessert
feel like
by
we're doing a
making
Bubba
it
Gump
tofu.
segment here. There's this kind of tofu, this kind of tofu.
Bold
There really
tofu,
is. There
grilled
really is.
tofu.
I believe it. I'm just saying.
bad
Tofu,
There's
gumbo.
fried tofu.
tofu
Yeah.
cocktails.
I did not expect this
I bet you
conversation
that
to go this way.
exists. Yeah. Anyways, Manny, circling back, Manfred, Manchester,
Manny Fresh.
Mannheim,
Irrit.
Manny Fresh. That's right. Wah, wah.
whatever your name is. Let's see that ID.
Right.
So that kind of wraps that bit up, and we're switching gears. Really switching gears.
Mhm.
And one of the topics that we wanted to discuss, and we kind of didn't get a chance to last week. We had Reese on, which was great. Reese, thank you so much for being on with us last week. But the news kind of leading up into it was the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and he's going to be missed, and there's no two ways around it. I didn't personally know too much about his backstory outside of his acting, but upon his passing, doing a bit more research and seeing his peers and other people talk about him, dude was incredible. Like, he was such a good, genuine person, and I feel like he's going to be really missed. Especially in the Marvel universe, but beyond that, just as a good person in the world, we definitely need more of him. So we kind of wanted to take a moment this week and kind of pay tribute to his work as King T'Challa in Black Panther, and just kind of talk a bit about that and our experiences with that, and just kind of remember the man that we knew through his work in film. So it's wide open for you guys.
Well, I think it hit a lot of us for a number of different reasons. I think first and foremost was just nobody saw it coming, right? Because he's obviously a very private person. And I was reading a little article or essay, I guess, if you want to call it that, Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther, had written about it. And he didn't know, from what I understood from the article. That's the impression I got, was that he didn't know that he was sick during the filming and all that. And, he was just reflecting on how much of a professional he was, and especially, given the circumstances of his health at the time, that he's, even he was already impressed with his work ethic, but even more so considering how sick he was. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things that probably caught us off guard, was the fact that we didn't know he was sick. We didn't know he was going through all this, especially during his kind of, rise to fame, playing, Black Panther. And then of course, in 42 playing Jackie Robinson, got him a lot of, earned him a lot of critical acclaim too. And, of course, him being young, as well, is another thing. If it was somebody older, 60s, 70s, 80s, and you found out all of a sudden, oh, they passed away of, cancer, of course you'd still be sad and a little shocked. But, the fact that he was so young that we didn't know about it, and, obviously that he is a, pretty big name, in the Marvel universe, and, outside of that as well as an actor, I think just got a lot of us shook for the, for lack of a better term, when we found out about it. And the way we found out about it, I don't know if Ryan was also part of this, but it was during our Force Fiesta trivia night. We were talking about some stuff, and Nate had asked a question, and some stuff came up about the Avengers movie. And Clint put something in the chat that had happened, and it just totally threw me and Nate for a loop, because like we had, it was just totally blindsided us. And, you know, when stuff like that happens, you know, it's just like out of the blue, you're like, what?
You're not,
you know,
what? You're just like, oh yeah, exactly. I want to apologize to you guys for telling you that way, by the way. I know it's not the best action. I just didn't want any joke being misinterpreted the wrong way.
No. I'm glad you did, because, you know, you said that, and it was like one of those things where I was like instantly like, oh crap, that could have been like way worse, because we were talking at the time about the Thanos snap, and making reference to the bags of, I guess it was basically probably not confetti, but what am I trying to say? The glitter
dust.
that people were selling afterwards, and I almost made reference to some of the characters that had got dusted, and of course he was one of the ones that had gotten dusted in the movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, and that would have been really poor taste, you know. And you know, it's an awkward, you know, position. You know, we're in the middle of streaming, and I know you know, some streamers found out about it and didn't mention it, and you know, others did, like we did. And I mean, I think that's a personal decision as to whether you address that or not, you know. But you know, I don't know how many people we had in the chat that night. I would probably think 30, 40, 50, somewhere around there, if not more. But
like that. Yep.
I mean, somebody's liable to say something anyway if you sit on it and don't say it. So I don't know what the best course of action is in that particular situation, whether you sit on it or you go ahead and address it. And, you know, we did what we did. And it's not like I regret any action that we took after that, you know. And I think everybody processes stuff like that differently too.
Exactly. And I didn't want to put you guys on the spot to have to process it. But like I said, I just didn't want anything poor taste being said. That wouldn't have been poor taste otherwise. That's the only reason I even said anything.
No. It was a good move.
For sure. That was a good move. We appreciate that.
Yeah. It was trying to look out for you guys at the same time.
Right. It was better to have a heads up than, you know, making a joke later on and not even realizing that it was in poor taste, you know, when you made it or something like that.
Right. So. Right. But anyway, you brought up some really good stuff there, for sure. I mean, just think. So I'm going to tell you, this is kind of a shameless plug, and I apologize, but I think it's worth saying. Obviously, I do Movember every year, and I mean, the thing that started it all was prostate cancer. So you know, it's some ridiculous statistic how many men have prostate cancer when they die. Not they die of it, but they have it. You know, it's usually when you're older, and you know, you die of, and this is hypothetical. You maybe have heart trouble, but you actually had prostate cancer at the same time. But my point of that is that, you know, it's something that, you know, it's something I've thought about a lot and that people need to talk about. But, and now I'm just blanking. Was it prostate or colon cancer?
I think he had colon cancer.
Colon cancer. Yeah. Okay. So the same kind of thing though, where you need to keep, you know, be aware of it and keep an eye on it. And to his credit, he did, because that's not a cancer you just like, oh, I know I have it, you know, kind of thing. So I want people, myself included, to really look at this as a learning opportunity to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And he did. He should get all the credit in the world for doing the right thing. The only thing I wish he would have done more is maybe talked about it more, just to get the word out, you know, to help others. But at the same time, he also was a, you know, rare case. It's not 43 is for any cancer is a young age. So it's hard to, you know, really say, well, look at what happened to me, when you're the exception, not the rule.
And I don't know. I would have to do more research to find out whether he was doing it, because it seemed like he was doing a lot of charity work, especially with children's cancer organizations. And I don't know if he was doing that beforehand, or if he started as a result of that, you know. But, you know, who are we to judge, you know, people for, you know, what they decide to share and don't share. And, you know, you never know what could have happened if that would have gotten out, you know, with him and his career and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying people would have stopped hiring him or anything like that, but, you know, I'm sure that's got to be a thought, you know, in the back of his mind. With, you know, I come out and tell people that I have this prognosis that may, you know, prevent them from, you know, let me do this. And then, you know, I wouldn't be able to take care of my family afterwards and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation.
Not a clue.
Either. But, you know, I think he did some good stuff. I think there will probably be more good stuff to come out of this too, you know, and I think he would probably be pleased with the fact that, you know, people are starting to, you know, talk about, you know, cancer and getting yourself checked for different types and stuff like that. And you know, you always hate that something like this has to happen, you know, for people to start being aware of that. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, it's usually the case where that happens, where it takes some sort of, I can't think of another word or a better word in this case, so I apologize if this offends anybody, but tragedy. As far as this all goes, it's very tragic how we found out. It's very tragic that it happened to such a rising and budding star who was doing so much for the greater community. But to Clint's point, and to Joy's point as well, we all need to be cognizant and mindful about our own personal well-being. And sad to say, it does sometimes take these kinds of events in order for you to get shaken up enough that you realize maybe I should be doing more for myself.
Right.
It was one of those things that I saw specifically with Chadwick. Was he was doing an interview and someone asked him, he's like, man, you went from Black Panther to doing Defy Bloods, and like, you know, in between you did like 21 Bridges. He did like all these different movies over the final 4 years where he was. So the final 4 years was when he was fighting cancer at stage 3. So he was already diagnosed at that point. So like, he's already been like probably going through chemo, having surgeries, and you know, all this stuff up until those last 4 years where it kind of took a turn. And he was during an interview, someone asked him, was like, you know, like, you've been bulking up, you know, making yourself skinny and, you know, kind of going up and down, like, you know, how's that taking a toll on your body? And in true Chadwick fashion, he responded, he just chuckled, and he's like, you know what, it's been rough, but you know, one day I'm going to live and tell my story. And he didn't talk about his illness. He didn't talk about, you know, the struggles he was having. But, you know, as he passed, like, there's been stories about how he was constantly, he had surgeries. He had like tons of stuff happening all while he was filming. And that's like, to me, like, that battle is already like a crazy battle that takes so much out of you. But to be able to give us that type of acting and that type of conviction and stuff like that on the screen while that's all happening, that's unheard of. Like, to me, like, that's just insane. Like, that he was able to do that, right?
100% agree with you. I'm looking here. I wish so I want people to know that listen to this, and I'm guilty of this, that he was in more than just Black Panther, and he didn't have the accent, you know, that we're all used to hearing him say as Black Panther. I want to make sure that's clear. I'm looking here. I mean, he doesn't have a very long list of movies, but he's definitely got some good ones in here. I definitely need to still. I hate how many movies I miss, but you know, I'd love to see 42. I still haven't seen that. Get On Up, of course. I had no idea he was James Brown until this, unfortunately. Yeah, but I would love to see that. You know, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here, but it's good. And I've seen him on TV before too. I didn't realize he'd been doing TV since 2003. Looking here, but
he was a very multifaceted actor.
Yeah. And it's funny because all these are like real movies. They're not, you know, slapstick comedies or anything like that. So I know, speaking of slapstick comedies though, I know last night, we recorded this on Sunday, Saturday Night Live played the episode of him on it again. And I'm glad I DVR'd it because I'd like to go back and watch that, especially when he does the Black Jeopardy as Katala. But
that was real good.
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there. But it's just so many good things he could have. I mean, he had a lot of potential because just looking here, you could see the range he had as an actor. You know what I mean? He has a lot here. I need to lose my job so I can just watch movies and somehow get paid for it. But throw him in there. So anyway, there's some definitely good stuff in there that I would recommend come back.
Yeah, it's just some kind of very interesting, but also just super coincidental, but very interesting things that I learned more about as I was just kind of following up on his life and stuff. Was he, during that interview, so he did a commencement speech at Howard University, and he was talking about you know, just his first role where he got acting, and he was on All My Children. He was a soap opera actor. And the craziest thing is he was fired after like the 3rd episode because of his views on how the character should have been portrayed. And he was obviously playing a black man on the show. And it turned out Michael B. Jordan got his role. when he was fired,
Mhm.
which is just that's crazy. So
I
Michael
didn't
B.
know that.
Jordan, went on to be on All My Children, right behind Chadwick, and then so Denzel Washington actually also paid for Chadwick Boseman's education at Howard through a it was like a grant program, and it was like a bunch of actors, that had a lot of potential. But they couldn't afford to go to school, and the teacher reached out to Denzel Washington, and Denzel said, "Yes, I will pay for these kids' school." And Chadwick was one of those kids, and crazy enough, the final movie that Chadwick was in is going to be on Netflix. And who was it produced by? Denzel Washington.
Denzel, yep.
So, it's
Is that Ma Rainey's Black Bottom?
I believe that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's definitely something to check out when it comes out. Just these little things of how it just feels like the energy you put out into the world was the energy he got back. Right.
Yeah.
He was always this positive, forward thinking person, and things worked out for him because he got that energy he got back into the world that he put out. And it just, dude, it sucks, man. Fuck cancer.
Yeah. There's no other easy way to say that. It's true. Because, I mean, you guys are no stranger to it, but I'll tell our listeners here too. It's not like I'm any stranger to it. It hasn't affected me personally, like me, myself, but my wife did go through a small little bout of it as soon as we actually met. So, true story for those of you that are listening. The guys have heard this before, but when she first found out her diagnosis, we had only started dating like about 3 months prior, and she actually told me I should leave her, meet somebody else, because she may not be able to have children. And as hard as it is to talk about, it only wanted me to stay around more and help her, right? And that's, I think, why we became so close so fast. And partly also we're older in life, so you quickly latch onto people that are of quality when you're at this age versus like a transient friend if you're 18 years old. So that made a huge difference. But that's what really solidified to me that this is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with, is that this is what it should be. So going back to the cancer part, it's affected so many of us in this world in so many negative ways. So if there's any positive we can take from Chadwick's experience here, I would say number one, to reiterate what I mentioned a few minutes ago, to be cognizant and take care of yourself and also take care of others. But third, being that he was not very public about any of this stuff, I feel like in today's day and age, people post too much of their personal life on social media. And that's the big reason why I hardly post anything on my Instagram, my Facebook, or my Twitter anymore, relating to personal matters, that is. Sometimes I'll post other things, but the current generation, like the millennial kids, everything is on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and whatever the newer thing is. Oh, I'm eating a sandwich. What kind of sandwich? A ham sandwich. Does it have cheese? Yes. No. Nobody, to be frank, nobody gives a shit about your sandwich.
Unless it's a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
But really, to be serious about it, you don't need to tell everybody your entire life.
Right.
It's not about likes. It's not about follows. And in that respect, do what's good for you.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It's good advice. It's very good advice. Have you guys seen any of his other movies that he's done besides Black Panther?
I've not seen
Marvel
Get On
movies.
Up. I saw parts of 42. I had always wanted to watch it over from the beginning, but I just never got around to it.
Yeah, I know I've seen him in something on TV else. I'm looking through his credits and didn't recognize it, but I know I've seen him before. But yeah, if I Get On Up, 42. I need to go watch all these again, or for the first time.
Jeopardy doesn't count, Clint. Just
I agree, even though he did a fabulous job doing that.
Usually the actors that are more well known for being serious actors are the best Saturday Night Live guests.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just like so unexpected when they're on there doing more of your slapstick type of comedy.
Right.
Yeah, this is
The
kind of going off
contrast
topic a little bit.
Yeah.
But we've spoken about the Tom Hanks episode before and how good he was on Black Jeopardy, and that was hilarious. If you guys have not seen that one, please go check it out. It's on YouTube somewhere. But it's funny.
It should be on demand too. It's because it just aired. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Plug for Peacock.
On the
Go
Peacock.
check it out.
Yeah, there you go, Peacock. That's it.
Yeah.
Trying to find. I'm looking online trying to find the specifics about his charity work, but I haven't found that yet. But I know there's obviously some.
He did a lot.
It could be some stuff that he could be stuff that he just kept private as well.
Very private, yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, I know he did a lot
with
the hospitals and visiting. I know he was really big and helping children. But anyway, it's taken a minute to find as we're talking, so keep stalling. I know. Also, I think is there some kind of tribute on Disney Plus right now for him?
I know ABC did something that Sunday. They aired some kind of tribute, and I would think if they had done it, it's probably now on Disney Plus. I would think.
I think so.
Since ABC
I do think it's on Disney Plus.
I actually really wanted to watch that today, and it didn't work out. But I guess I still can. The day's not over, and we have tomorrow off. So
yeah, you can. There you go. Stay up past 10 p.m. tonight, Clint.
No problem. You guys laugh.
So on a lighter note, guys, this is again very off topic, but my dad's birthday was on Wednesday. By the way, happy birthday, belated birthday to Jorge, because his birthday was also this past Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, I called my dad on Wednesday to wish him a happy birthday, and my dad turned 70 this year, so I'm talking to him.
Wow.
Telling me, oh, you know what I did last night? I stayed up past midnight because I was like, okay, last few minutes of me being 60, so I wanted to cherish it. I'm thinking to myself, that is so hilarious, but that's just like my dad's personality type. So I don't know if like you're super Chinese like this, and respect, Nate, you know, being of your ancestry, not necessarily your part of the world where you grew up, but I know for us out here in Hawaii, we have a lot of cultural traits that melt together because all the different races. So it's very common for everybody on New Year's Eve. It's like you have to stay up until just past midnight. So that way you get like the good vibes of the new year. And I've heard from some of my friends that it's more like a Chinese cultural thing that we've just adopted as a Hawaii thing because of the population here. But is that something that you guys like and your family like has to do on special occasions, Nate? When it like, you know, the first few minutes of that new day.
Mm-hmm. Not really. Like I don't recall that ever happening with like my family specifically. Like my parents weren't very they didn't cling to too many of the older traditions and stuff. But yeah, no, I don't. That's not something that my family did.
Yeah, I just thought it was very hilarious that my dad was like, "Yeah, had to do it." So,
yeah, good for him.
Got to do it when you can.
Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah, I'm trying. I had a point I wanted to make, and I can't think of it. Anyway, talks among yourselves, I guess.
So I wanted to see. So I was just looking at some of his other movies that he's done. I definitely want to go back and watch 42. I don't think I've watched that one. I did see 21 Bridges. 21 Bridges was, it was not a great movie. Him aside, it was just a very generic movie, but he did the best that he had to work with.
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I wouldn't say like don't watch it. It was neither here nor there. It was a decent movie. The Five Bloods I'm very interested in just because it's a Spike Lee movie. Mm-hmm. And that's this thing with Spike Lee movies is there's either you love it or you hate it. Like I don't think there's a middle ground for the type of movies that Spike Lee makes. So that one might not be for everybody, but it's on Netflix if anyone wants to check it out. Yeah.
Nice.
What else has he been in?
I had no idea that he was in ER.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. I'm just quickly rifling through IMDb and seeing all the different things he's been on.
He's in a movie called Marshall. He plays Thurgood Marshall, NAACP lawyer, defending people who are wrongly accused. Defending colored people who are wrongly accused of crimes of racial prejudice. Very, very topical still to this day.
Even more so, probably.
Yeah, even more so nowadays. Yeah. It's one of those things where I feel like we're not going to really feel the impact of his passing. Like we will, and it's going to be around for a long time. But right now, it doesn't feel like he's gone. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Well, here let's kind of talk about what his most prominent role was. Of course, Black Panther.
Yeah.
How do you think Marvel either will and or should move going forward with the character?
There's several
Okay, so
theories. Sorry, go ahead, Joey.
well, I don't know how valid it is. I've seen some stuff saying that Disney officially came out and said that they're not going to recast it, but that they're also not going to move on with, I guess, the storyline of his replacement. I just don't know how true that is because I couldn't really find anything else to verify and back that up. So I would like to, just for the point of this conversation, just move forward without that, I guess, rumor or unsubstantiated rumor right now. I think most people are thinking that the sister, Shuri, did I get that right? I don't know why I just drew a blank. Yeah, okay. That she'll take over the mantle. And I know there had been rumors going around before his passing that they were planning on passing that along to her. And I guess now that kind of makes more sense that maybe it wasn't rumors, or I don't know the full backstory of that, but I think that's probably the best way to move forward with it, since it is something that is passed along. He didn't have any direct heirs that he would pass it on to, like his father passed it on to him, the mantle of Black Panther. So it would just make the most sense that it would be passed along to his sister. I think that's a great idea. I love the actress that plays Shuri. I think she would do a great job. I think there's no concern anymore for movie studios that a female lead can carry a movie. Obviously, they proved that with Wonder Woman. And that's a DC film, being able to be carried by a female superhero. So, and it got a sequel. So I don't think that'll be an issue at all. I don't see any other way that would be reasonable to continue on the Black Panther, I guess, separate franchise. I don't know if you want to call it that, but you know how all those end up getting 2 or 3 movies of their own. I don't know what else you would do. I don't know what else makes sense. I don't know what else is honoring of his time, because I don't think they'd be crazy enough to recast another actor. And I don't think
it would be a good look for them to even attempt to recast it. It would be poor taste, for one. It would be a slap in the face to his legacy as an actor and what he did for that role. And if you think about it, Black Panther as a standalone movie, it broke all kinds of records. In the Marvel world itself, right? All the things it was nominated for, awards it won. Yeah. So it would be a really big slap.
It's the one I watched the most in the movie theater. I think I saw it 3 times, maybe, in the movie theater. Which usually if it's got to be a really good movie for me to go back and see it twice.
Oh yeah, sure.
When we had our Marvel MCU episode that we did several episodes back, I don't know which number it is.
It was like 10 or something. But yeah.
Okay. But I remember we talked about our MCU Mount Rushmore, not including Avengers films, and Black Panther was one of the ones on mine, just because it's such a unique story that's, you know, so different from the superhero genre that we're used to hearing about. And it was just a really good film that, you know, I think they would not be able to do anything besides pass it on to his sister. Even if you're saying not recast it, even if you're saying, oh, well, we're going to pass it on to somebody different, like we're going to give it to Batu or something like that. I don't think that doesn't fit. That doesn't really fit. I don't know enough about the comic series to whoever else may have held the mantle. I'm sure we could Google it real quick and figure it out. But I don't think anybody else makes sense at this point in time besides passing it along to the sister.
So there's a very interesting. Sorry, Clint, real quick.
No,
I've been holding on to this thought.
I know you have. Go.
So there's an interesting fan theory that started earlier this week. Hello, it's Sunday. Like last week, that they were saying that it's possible if they were to spin the story in a type of way that they would bring back what's his face's character, Michael B. Jordan's character.
Oh, bring back Killmonger
by using one of the Infinity Stones. And, you know, keeping in mind, guys, this is a huge stretch, and this is a fan theory. This is not anything substantiated, but interesting point where they could technically use one of the Infinity Stones, bring him back per se, and explain to him the events that have transpired and have him take over the mantle of Black Panther. Now, while I like the concept of it, I also don't like the idea of it because it seems like a slap in the face again to the legacy of Chadwick Boseman. I'm not trying to say that Michael B. Jordan wouldn't be a good actor and it wouldn't be a good film. It just doesn't feel right to me. That's my opinion of it, though.
I'd agree with you on that. My thought was, why have another Black Panther at all? And, there's no, I understand that they're trying to follow the comic book lore, but given the circumstances, I don't necessarily think they need to. I like the idea of Shuri going as, is it Ironheart? Is that the female Iron Man character?
That's Riri Williams.
Yeah. But I know, they could always have her in that role. You know what I mean? Like if they really wanted to spin that and keep Wakanda around, keep all that. I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm actually okay if they don't even ever. Of course, Black Panther, Wakanda, and all those characters need to be involved in the MCU, but I'm okay if they don't have another Black Panther per se. Right. I don't know how I don't know how they're going to justify that. I don't know if they're going to say, he went on a mission and didn't come back or something, but it'd be interesting. Just a thought to not even have it anymore. Just proceed and do other things. They have other characters,
I looked it up real quick to see who else in the comics has held the mantle of Black Panther, right? Because it's one of those things that's been played by different people, and Shuri has done it. Killmonger has been the Black Panther, but it was crazy. Some of the other ones I saw, like Captain America in some timeline or universe, was Black Panther. There was also a Venom symbiote version of Black Panther.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of other ones that are within the more tightly knit Black Panther universe, like people from like the Wakanda area and surrounding tribes that have played it. The one that I was totally thrown off was that Storm was Black Panther at one point as well. But I can see what Clint's talking about, like maybe not even say this person is taking on the Black Panther, that it's just another character. But I would think if they are going to proceed with the sequel, I would think, like we said, the logical choice would be to have Shuri take over the Black Panther mantle. Because again, it's like one of those characters that it's like, I'm trying to think of how to say it. Other people can be the Black Panther and still be themselves, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it's kind of like sense. It's kind of like Captain America. Different people have been Captain America. Right. Bucky was, Sam was. Whereas like the Hulk, for instance, the Hulk is the Hulk. There's different versions of the Hulk, but it's not like, we're going to have this person fill in the Hulk's shoes. No, it doesn't quite work like that. So I don't see a problem with it. I don't think it would be anything dishonorable to him or his legacy to have somebody else necessarily play it. And I think for the sequel to happen, I think you almost have to give it to somebody.
Yeah. I'm siding with you. I would feel strongly about the fact that they should give the succession to Shuri because it makes the most sense. I'm just really opposed to the Killmonger aspect. And again, guys, it's fan theory. Right. I just wanted to make sure I'm interested because I saw it and I read it. I'm like, I like the idea. I can see where you're coming from substantiating this theory, but it's kind of distasteful in my opinion.
Well, Clint brings up a good point. I'm wondering how it's going to be addressed. Right. I'm trying to think of the first movie that is not in production yet that would make sense for them to bring it up if they want to do it before they bring it up in Black Panther 2. You see what I'm saying? Like Black Widow's already canned. It's ready to go. I think the Eternals was probably pretty far along because it was supposed to come out, November? Yeah. Originally.
That was the next one after.
What was going to be the first one next year? Was it the new Spider-Man movie or the new Doctor Strange movie maybe?
No, Doctor Strange wasn't supposed to be until like fall of next year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what it was.
I don't remember what the timeline was as far as what was next.
Well, who knows what it is now?
Yeah.
Between this and COVID,
And ever since COVID hit, they have rearranged their timeline release schedule.
They have to.
meaning
meaning
that they've rearranged it in the way that some movies that were supposed to come out later have now been pushed up in the timeline.
Right.
Yeah. So according to this, it's Black Widow is still coming out this November. Eternals in February. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is May, and then the Spider-Man movie is now in December. And then you come back around to 2022, which is Thor: Love and Thunder, and then March is Doctor Strange. So there's quite a few movies that are coming that it, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense to even address it at that point.
Agreed.
I think it makes most sense to wait and address it in that actual sequel movie.
But is there any update on that from previous update? Was there any previous update on that when that one's supposed to come out?
What I see still listed is May 6th of 2022.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. So what's going to actually happen now that he's passed, if that gets pushed back some, because filming wasn't even supposed to be starting until March of 2021 because of the pandemic.
Right.
So, and they've got a lot of time to figure out what they want to do too. And
yes.
And move forward with something. I just hope they move forward with something. I would like to see that because I think it would be a good way to honor his memory to go ahead and do the second movie.
Sure.
And of course, obviously they would pay tribute to him for sure in that film, if not mention it sometime beforehand.
100%
I
agree.
think I like I like the idea of Shuri taking over the Black Panther mantle. I do also think that Killmonger Infinity Stone theory is really cool, because if that's something like, see, this is completely slightly off topic, but really quick, would be really cool if that was what happens in Black Widow. Something like that where it kind of ties in. So it's like, hey, there's a loophole. We've got a possibility that we could do this. And I think that if there was a black male actor that could do that role justice and still pay homage to Chadwick's work, I would say Michael B. Jordan would be a fantastic choice. But just kind of more on a personal level, that the way I feel about it is that it's super, 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 super important that they do absolutely do a sequel to Black Panther, regardless of the direction they take. It is so important to the Black community, and it was so powerful when it came out, and it's still super powerful. And I feel like they know what they have to do, and someone's going to do it, and hopefully they just do it right. That's all I can say about that. I
saw a good point where they said that Shuri as Black Panther could be for African American girls what T'Challa as Black Panther was for African American boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Empowering them and making them, or giving them somebody to relate to on the big screen, whereas that was not
there was
before.
In the comics there was a female Black Panther, right?
Shuri.
Well, Shuri was.
Okay, so it even makes sense in that. Okay, just want to make sure it makes sense in that aspect. So
there was a couple of females that actually held the mantle. Good. I think if I understood correctly from what I read, and I read it pretty quickly, that the symbiote Venom version was a female that took over the mantle for a while. So it's happened several times. So they definitely have the backstory in the comics. Regardless, I don't think they would need it, but they do have it. So they do have storyline in the back in the back of the catalog, so to speak, to back it up.
Cool.
So
good call, Nate. Excellent call on that one. I 100% agree. I take back my comment about not doing it now. We need to do it. It needs to happen. And luckily, Marvel has done an excellent job with their storytelling. So I actually have a lot of faith that they'll come up with something. And like Joey said, they have time. So
yeah, especially if Ryan Coogler's going to be in charge of it.
Right.
He's going to do a good job of it. He's going to do it right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
He'll do it
He's
right.
definitely going to do it justice. And while I could talk Marvel all day, obviously I love talking about it, I do want to mention to the listeners here, one of the last, or at least to my knowledge, one of the last things that he was involved in, I'm not sure if it finished shooting, was Yasuke. That's a movie. Basically, he was an African-American samurai. So I'm really curious to know what the end result of that filming was. Did they finish shooting? Is that movie going to be released? Because of my heritage being Japanese and loving him and all the work that he's done over the last 15 years or so, I would love to see that movie. Because it's in a way, it's kind of like tying it back to The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, right? And it's a very heartfelt story about, he's like a gaijin. For those of you that don't know what that means, it's outsider basically in Japanese culture, and how he becomes accepted. And I don't know anything about this story, but just the premise of him being an African American samurai, it intrigues me. I would love to see this film, so I do hope that they do release it.
Well, it's listed as being in pre-production
Yeah, I saw that.
in IMDb, which is not usually a good sign,
No.
because it means that they probably don't even have anything but maybe test footage done with them. And it's saying that the last film of his that's going to be released is the one that y'all were mentioning earlier, the Netflix one, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So that appears to be the last one that's actually going to come out. And yeah, I hate that too, because it definitely, I remember hearing about it and I just read the little synopsis again, and it definitely sounds like a very interesting, story to be told. So I hate that we're not going to get to have that, but.
Yeah. Me too. And everything else that was going to happen after that.
Yeah.
There was, not that could have happened, but well, one reason we wanted to do this, I think we just wanted to talk out loud, because I know other people have want to have these discussions and it's harder to do. So I appreciate people who've listened and probably even chimed in. Your responses to anything that we post is always appreciated, but this helped me process it, because I, haven't had a chance. And I know, don't get me wrong, I love that Reese was on. It just, the timing did not work out great in the sense of doing this, but this is a big loss in the sense of anything. Because I mean, you look at the guy and just smile, knowing that he was a great actor and a philanthropist and somebody you could probably hang out with and have a good time with, laugh with. So I'm glad we're talking about it. I hope others are too. And I hope others appreciate and acknowledge and celebrate his life appropriately.
Yeah. Let his legacy live on in that respect. This is the way I feel about like my grandfather, who was taken from me very suddenly. They're never really truly gone if their legacy impacts you for the rest of your life, right? And then in turn, your legacy, when you're not here anymore, if you're able to pass that on to even just one other person, your legacy lives on. Right. So that's my outlook on life. You can formulate your own different opinion about the situation, but that's the way I try to view things in a positive light, is that, keep it going, pay it forward, etc. Whichever way you want to look at that coin.
Yeah.
I think, speaking on that, Ryan, I think it's really super important, if anyone's listening out there, that you haven't seen his Chadwick Boseman's Howard University commencement speech. It's kind of everywhere. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I encourage you to watch it. It's about 8 minutes long. He touches on so many super, super powerful things. He says some incredible things that just, it's just, he puts into words things that you may be feeling or things that you want to see in the world, like kind of basically what you want people to be and how you want people to act. And he nails it. And it's such a very, very powerful speech. And I absolutely recommend you viewing it if you haven't yet. So please do that. Or I'll cut Clint's hair.
It's fine. We can do that. I don't object to that at all. One other point I want to make, guys, and I think it's important also to mention this, because we were talking about how Denzel was able to help influence and steer Chadwick's life at that point, right? Where he didn't have the money to pay for schooling. So Denzel stepped in. It's especially prevalent in today's day and age because of everything that's going on with this overlying pandemic. If you have the ability to help other people, please do so, and do it without ever expecting anything in return. Just for the sole fact that you want them to keep going. So please help your neighbor if you're able to.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah, that's very, very well said. Don't be an asshole. Be kind.
And to quote the ladies from Nerdy Curious, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. It's hard for some people, but come on.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Wow.
Had to
you gotta lighten the mood somehow, guys.
It had to be done.
It
was Ryan. Ryan's the one that did it.
I will say one other thing to lighten the mood. My friend sent me this, and please, guys, this is not meant to throw shade or, insult anybody or demean the situation. I just found it was a nice level of humor. It made me chuckle, so maybe it'll do the same for you. And this by no means is meant in any way of disrespect. So, going back to the subject of Black Panther and who can take on the mantle and who can assume the role, my friend's like, you know what? Maybe we can have Kirk Lazarus do it, because he's the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude.
Oh, jeez.
And I'll just leave it at that. But again, guys, I'm sorry.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, I didn't say that part. Clint did. but it's not meant to show disrespect.
Yeah, just kinda gotta
I'm a
make
big fan of
that real
RDJ.
quick too.
Right.
Just make sure to throw that out. Be
Yeah.
absolutely clear. This was all
I
true.
had a nice little small chuckle out of it. It was a nice tie.
Well, again, giving the best to everyone whose life was touched by Chadwick and his family. Thank you for letting us process it. Thank you for sharing your gifts, and we hope coping is something you all can do.
And please
I don't
talk
have anything
about
else
it
to
if
say.
you need to, guys. Don't hold it in.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like a lot of times, I see, and social media is awful for this. It's when a celebrity or someone passes, and it's like, well, you didn't know him. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't have to know somebody to feel a sense of loss.
Or
Based
for them
on,
to have impacted your life.
yeah, to have them have impacted your life in any way, big or small.
Yes.
People process grief and things like that in their own way, and there's no shame in being saddened when you hear something like this, because it is a big loss. Like,
Mhm.
you think about that person's family, think about the things they're leaving behind and the people they're leaving behind. Maybe you didn't know them, but it doesn't mean you couldn't have cared for them from a distance and admired them and looked up to what they did. So don't let anyone ever tell you how to process
How to
your pain
grieve,
and whatever.
right.
Yeah, and how to grieve. So
Yeah.
Or how to live your life in general.
Right.
There's too much
Right.
negativity in the world and people trying to tell you you should do this or you should do that. What those people should do is learn to keep their mouth shut about the situation and let the other person do what they need to do for their own personal well-being, right? Too many trolls in the
Yeah.
world. Stop being a
Mhm.
keyboard warrior. Stop hiding behind your screen and running your mouth without fear of getting punched in the mouth.
But if you want to be a keytar warrior, that is
please do. You're allowed to be Keytar.
And we encourage that.
In fact, that sounds like an old bad 80s movie, The Keytar Warrior.
Keytar Warrior.
And I'm here for it. I'd
I would
watch
love to see that.
I'll add it to the queue after 42 and
Keytar Warrior.
yeah.
Keytar Warrior.
Well, on that note, I think we're ready to wrap this up, Nate.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. As you kind of got as the topic kind of rolled on, you can see this is not it was a good topic for us to sit and chat with, but we don't have a game this week because we didn't think it was necessarily appropriate, and we couldn't we didn't think it was necessary for this week. So if you're looking for a game this week and you listen to the whole episode, I'm sorry. We'll make it up for you next week. Joey will put a kick-ass game together. It'll be
No
the
pressure,
greatest
Joey.
game
No pressure.
he's ever made for you game fans.
Or how about
Um,
this? How about you invent a game, whoever's listening and upset that we
Yes.
did play a game? You
And
send
then
us a
email
game.
us.
Yes.
And then email us at dorksmen@gmail.com, and we will never read your game.
No, we'll read it. We just won't respond.
And we'll take credit for your idea.
That's right.
That's what we'll do.
We came up with this game on our own.
Yeah. Don't listen to the last 5 minutes of episode 59, where we ask for your game ideas. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening this week. We do get kind of off the rails, a little bit off topic and stuff, but we hope you enjoyed us paying tribute and us kind of processing this situation, this tough time. Thank you again for all your support constantly. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. There will be some streams this week for sure. Ryan will be doing some. He'll be either doing some retro games or doing some graphic design or some stuff like that on his channel, twitch.tv/Agent Tony Stark.
Yep.
We'll probably have Clint on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday doing some Nintendo, maybe some Splatoon or Mario Kart. No, Mario Kart was on sale, so I know a few people picked it up. So
Good.
maybe he'll do a Mario Kart this week. Twitch.tv/The Dorksmen. If Joey and I can get our shit together with our houses, we might do some Fall Guys, but no promises there. This week's kind of weird, but hopefully within the next little while we'll be able to get back into a better rhythm with that. So
And don't forget Fridays, Dorksman Game Night. We do have a new Jackbox pack, so we're not playing the same
I'm
old
excited
thing
for
every
that.
week. Please
Even
come
though
check
was
it out.
working. Yeah, we were.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. This past Friday was fun. Different types of games. It was a good time.
I'm excited. I'll be there. I'll be there
Time
next
was
week.
had by all.
Well,
Yeah, I'll be there next week because hockey was over, and
Like how your team's gone, so hockey's over.
Yeah, hockey's over. I don't care anymore, so I'll be back. I'll be back. Yeah. Anyone got anything else before we wrap it up for this episode? No.
Nope, not here.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. And with that, that's my secret. I'm always angry.
Cancer sucks.
Word, homies.
Wakanda forever.